You're with Good Morning India. We're talking about how India is unlocking further today. We're in Unlock 1.0 now, and as part of guidelines, restaurants and shopping malls have also reopened. Joining us now, Anurag Katiyar, President of the National Restaurants Association of India. We're also being joined by Arjun Sharma, Chairman of Select CityWalk. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us on Good Morning India. Mr. Katiyar, let me begin with you. Restaurants have obviously suffered huge losses throughout this 2.5-month lockdown. How imperative was it for restaurants to reopen? But having said that, also, what kind of measures now need to be in place, and can all restaurants follow these equally?
Thank you so much. So I'll tell you what, this is the most logical next step. Someday we have to kickstart the economic activity, and that is today. However, we must be very, very clear about a couple of things, that there are lots of restrictions vis-a-vis the number of seats in a restaurant, the operating hours, and so on and so forth. So it will be a very restrictive operation, essentially only lunch, because you have to take your last orders at 8 p.m. so that everybody is back home at 9 p.m. Now coming to the safety and SOP measures, I think everybody is geared up to adhere to them. In fact, we are waiting for the guidelines from several states right now as we speak, because as you know, health is a state subject. So every state will have to come up with their own individual guidelines. In fact, we have offered our services to various states to help them formulate these guidelines.
Right.
We have to be very practical about them. And I think overall, right now, we will see a very subdued consumption. In fact, I would say very subdued opening for a variety of reasons. You know, first of all, there are going to be certain, safety measures which needs to be implemented before we open. In cities like Delhi, which has announced that restaurants can operate just yesterday, this may take a few more days. And also, you have to understand that for restaurants and other retailers, it is also very important to come to a conclusion on the new commercials with the landlords before they start operations. Because with restricted timings, restricted things to be served, no alcohol allowed, and restricted covers, it will be impossible to work on the old terms. So
Arjun,
overall,
let's actually get a response from Arjun Sharma, since we have the chairman of Select CityWalk, one of Delhi's best-known malls, who's also with us on the show. Arjun Sharma, what do you make of that? You know, you have restaurants, you have shops that have now been closed for 2.5 months. They're reopening, yes, but obviously they're going to have to build consumer confidence. It's going to be an uphill task because people are really not ready to come out yet. There are also restricted hours of opening. In this very changed scenario, are there ways that malls will now have to sort of renegotiate perhaps rents, perhaps the kind of facilities they offer? All of these are real questions going ahead.
Well, yes, indeed. It's not easy times. I think for all retailers across every business, these are not easy times. Neither is it for shopping centers, because these are new norms, new SOPs that we are having to implement. And I think as shopping centers, and very responsible shopping centers, and I say that with great humility on behalf of the whole shopping center industry, that we worked a lot to create these SOPs. We worked a lot with the government to create these SOPs. And our endeavor will be, first of all, to make sure that we follow them in spirit and letter. As regards
but how do you choose to do that, Mr. Sharma? Because let me tell you what some of the anxieties are. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you know, people are questioning where sort of employees, shop assistants, employees at restaurants are all coming from, what kind of mode of public transport they use. Can this experience be made entirely contactless? How do you do that? How do you ensure safety at all times?
Well, look, to begin with, all retailers have to begin, and all shopping center associates, which are, let's say, the staff that work in it, have to kind of work their SOPs at the back end as well. Now, the government has introduced the Arogya Setu app that is kind of working well, I understand. The thing is that restaurants and shops on the high street are anyway open. The government has experienced opening of those over the last 3 weeks. And yes, there are challenges, but there is no foolproof. Now, if you don't start somewhere, how do you give those people the jobs? How do you give those
But
people their
do you
salaries?
think now is the best time to start, given that we're actually seeing cases rising at a rapid rate?
Well, I happen to hear Dr. Guleria, who's the AIMS director, who actually said that the virulent load is getting lesser, the effects are getting lesser. Now, as far as we as shopping centers are concerned, the SOPs that we are putting in are probably amongst the best. Yes, there is no foolproof, there is no guarantee. But each individual has to also take his own initiative. For example, if you wear a mask, if you wear a shield, then the chances of you spreading this virus are absolutely minuscule. Now, if you are not going to follow the rules and the SOPs in letter and spirit, then yes, there's a problem. Now, shopping centers are probably best equipped to enforce that. We have cameras, we have people on the ground, we'll have marshals to make sure that not just the visitors who come to the center, but equally the employees and colleagues who work inside. Similarly, there are sanitization tunnels. There is a constant process. For example, at our own food court, which we run ourselves, we've said that as against 450 to 500 seats, we'll probably operate with 150 to 170. Even though the norm says 50%, we will be well below 50% because it's a learning for even us. There's no easy way.
Right. Let's certainly hope that your customers are hearing all of this and taking note and perhaps feeling more enthused about coming out. That is going to be your biggest challenge going ahead. But all the very best.
Indeed.